About the stats and things?
Well, I mean, I already knew about the stats, but it was like the pips and stuff, and I didn't know originally you didn't get any because I was scouring that whole book and I was like, where do you skill up?
Yeah, it's just a little house rule I did. It's not big. I mean, every 3 levels you get one. It's kind of weak. So.
Well, since I'm at level 4, do I get one then?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, and I don't think I gave you any special abilities yet.
No, I really don't know what he would get right off the honestly because his whole theme that I came up with when you told me about the game and to make the character within that hour, I was thinking about maybe like a Don Quixote-esque character.
Okay.
Because he grew up his whole life being told about these stories of knights and their noble conquests and stuff, and he's sort of emulated that to the nth degree. He wants to become that so badly. so I've sort of pictured that it kind of made him slightly delusional in a lot of aspects. So in his own mind, he sees himself as this, even though in reality he's not. But he'll walk the walk and talk the talk, even though he's not really that. You know, he has no nobility at birth. He came from a very poor family, and this is just things that he seeks out.
So I guess in some ways he's like a hedge knight then. He's just someone from a poor upbringing who's trying to better himself.
Yeah.
Trying to be something that, he is not.
Yeah.
You could go the delusional route if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I actually wanted to do the delusional route a lot because I wanted him to have these flights of fancies where he kind of pretends he has retainers and lords underneath him, but he really doesn't. It's just all by his lonesome, running around with a sword, just killing people.
Sounds like you found the right game then.
Yep.
Alex, it sounded like you had a lot of feedback there. Are you still there?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still here. Do I have feedback?
You had some weird sound things going on when you first logged on, but I think it's okay now.
Sorry.
It's okay. We have these technological glitches from time to time, but we stumble through them as best we can.
Good to know.
All right, so last time... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Phil.
Do we also get a pip in the... like the skills that are in parentheses, like detect new shifting construction and shifting passage?
Those would be, I think, dwarf skills. I think they're the ones that get those ones.
Okay, so we don't actually get those?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, good. All right. That's all I got then.
That's cool. But yeah, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. Alex, do you have any questions before we get? Anything you just want to say? I don't know.
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. So the last time you had lit basically the insect god idol thing. You kind of lit that room on fire. There's lots of smoke, and that way seems kind of maybe not impossible to get out, but challenging would be a good way to describe it. And there was also this sort of invisible barrier that the smoke wasn't passing beyond. And you remembered that if it wasn't there, you probably would be choking on smoke at this point. So you're in the small hallway. There's that room with the mirror that basically decimated Sergei. He kept asking questions out loud. It was hurting him every time. It was giving him an answer every time. So there's that room. And then there's the other room that had what you assume to be is the mother. Rayhan had peeked in through the keyhole and saw this sort of elderly woman that's in there. He didn't really see a lot of details there for the rest of the room. And there also has been chanting going on in that room since you guys came into the hallway. It was silent at first, but now there's chanting. So that's pretty much where we left off. I don't see Tim online. I thought he was going to make it today. He probably slept in. It's pretty early over on the East Coast. So he might pop in later. But we're just going to say until he shows up or whatever, he's pretty much just laying on the ground. I think he was like really low hit point wise.
Yeah, he's at 1.
Yeah, from the mirror. So we're just going to say that he's just laying there out of it. And for Rayhan, I'll do something different. So, hopefully he's going to be out for today. So. All right, so you guys are there. Feel free to discuss things moving forward, right? Push things forward. What's the situation?
Well, we're in a bit of a spot.
Indeed we are. Indeed we are. I sure hope Sergei pulls through. He looks mighty wounded.
He'll be fine. He's a tough guy.
Tell me something. Sergei told me something a little interesting. It's about Rayhan, exactly. And I'll lean in close so that no one listens in. He told me that he ate the flesh of another?
I wasn't there, but I've heard the same.
This is disturbing. This man is a holy man, worshipping that of the sun. I venerated him because he was such a devout individual. He has become profane.
It does make you wonder what's running down his chin.
We'll say that Rayhan is looking at the mirror while you guys are talking off to the side.
We'll have to talk to him about this. Most definitely. He must be confronted with this for his own good.
We mustn't be too judgmental, though. These places, they do things to people.
Indeed. I have no doubt in my mind it was probably bewitched by some black and profane magics. Some strange form of twisted sorcery.
Let's hope that that's not more of it happening in those incantations beyond the door there. I'd dearly like to shut her up.
Perhaps we'll have the opportunity to do so. After all, the mirror did say that if we did get her and use her as a hostage, we'll be able to make safe passage through this hellhole safely.
I'm just not sure I see the means, Luther.
You see Rayhan sort of arch his back to the point of almost unbelievability. He's bent over to the point where his head is only a few inches above the ground. His arms are spread wide to the side, fingers to the ceiling, quivering and shaking. His eyes are rolling back into his head, and you start to smell the scent of burning flesh.
I think he's going into that state again.
I run over.
I was in, and he.
I run over to Rayhan and I look at him and I say, "What's wrong, Rayhan?"
Tavis just scrambles back and loads his crossbow in the corner.
There's drool and you start to see what looks like small black spiders start to pour out of his mouth.
I immediately kind of drop him. I'm like, oh. And I pull out my weapon and I back up slowly, but I clearly look shooken on the face.
His body starts to levitate a few inches off the ground. You see his feet sort of they're dangling. His arms are rigid, but his legs are weightless and just held in place there by gravity. He starts to just slowly move towards the ceiling. The curtains that you put in front of the mirror sort of just slide off to the side, like blown by some invisible gust of wind. And you see the reflection of his body also floating up and spiders are slowly just tumbling out of his mouth.
Well, I'll look at the mirror and I'll say to myself, well, we won't be having none of this. I'll walk over to the mirror and am I able to, like, I want to, like, take the mirror and, like, just toss it on the ground or something, or try to break it in some means.
Okay. And as I said, every time you look in the mirror, you see this white, sort of glowing visage of yourself, and that's exactly what you see. Except you see a sort of crack that's over the center of your face now.
Ooh.
But so you want to basically reach up and try to like pull it off the wall and smash it on the ground?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you just roll under strength on a d20?
Gotcha. Oh, I got 7 points over.
Okay. So you reach up and I don't know. You want to describe how you fail?
Okay.
Feel free.
What you said before you is Luther will reach up and he'll grab at it and you see him just tense up, making all these grunting noises, and all of a sudden he'll kind of lift himself off the ground, just trying to put all of his weight into it, and then you see him slip and fall completely on his back.
Does Tavis do anything in response? You're basically holding your crossbow at this point, right?
I suppose he's going to walk up about like 3 or 4 feet away from it and just gaze into it to see what he can see in the mirror with his crossbow drawn. And
have you looked in the mirror yet?
No, he's not.
I don't think Tavis has.
No.
All right, so Tavis sort of looks in there, and what you see is just this bloody pile of flesh, not piled up in a humanoid form. It's just sort of slopped together. It looks like something that perhaps a pig would eat out of a sloth tray. It's just sort of tumbling and rolling down, but bits of flesh are starting to coagulate and form slowly out of the pile, and it looks like your father.
For a second, he kind of startles a bit and looks like he's about to fire at it, but then he just can't. He runs over to, or at least scrambles down to Luther and sees if he can pull him back up.
Oh, yeah, there's no real problem there. It's easy to. But like this whole time, there's just these little spiders, and Rayhan's body is almost to the ceiling now.
Am I able to reach Rayhan's body?
Yeah, you could probably jump up and grab one of his feet.
Yeah, I'll grab one of his feet and I'll bring him down. And I'll say to myself out loud, well, we're not going to have any of that. Nope, not towards the ceiling. Get down here.
So you jump up and you sort of grab onto one of his feet, and it's a very strange feeling because you almost feel weightless as you touch his foot, and he doesn't come down, and neither do you.
Oh boy.
And his body starts to rotate in a counterclockwise fashion.
And I'm still hanging on, dangling at this point.
Yeah.
I want to try to keep hanging on because his thought process will probably be along the lines of thinking that maybe somehow he can weight him down.
Okay.
But he'll have this really stressed look on his face, and he'll look over at you, Travis, and he'll be like, a little help, yeah?
What is your question? From the mirror.
Tavis just tips the mirror over so it's facing the ground.
Oh, so you're gonna try to pull it down too, then?
Yeah.
It's like bolted onto the wall. That's why it was so hard for.
Okay. All right, that I didn't get.
For Luther to pull over.
Okay. Never mind then. He's certainly not going to be able to do that.
You're more than welcome to attempt it.
No, he'll just throw his weight in on Rayhan.
Okay, so you jump up too and grab maybe the other leg, something like that?
Yeah.
Same effect. You're dangling from one of Rayhan's legs, and you both will start to see the spiders that are crawling out of his mouth are starting to move in your direction.
Okay, he'll drop off of his leg then.
Luther will do the same, and he'll start patting his body all over, making sure none of them got on him.
When the spiders land on the ground, they just sort of turn into little pools of blood.
Ooh. Now you described that the mirror before had like this liquid look to it.
Yeah, it's sort of like a mercury.
What objects are there in the room?
This room's pretty Spartan and devoid of anything really. There's no seats, there's no chairs, there's no rugs or tapestries.
Does that sound like it came from the room with the old woman?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's no more chanting.
Oh boy.
It's just silent.
I look over to you, Travis, and I say, perhaps you might try firing a bolt into the mirror. See what happens.
Travis just sort of swallows and, egged on by Luther, raises his crossbow again and fires it into the fleshy mound he sees.
Okay, yeah, you fire it into the I don't know how else to describe it, piled up meat that looks like your father. It sinks into the mirror and it sort of goes with the motion of the arrow at first, and then there's this strange tearing sound. It sounds like you shot it through just like a section of leather or hanging flesh, and you hear screaming from the room where the door just opened.
I'd say that was effective. Has there been any change to Rayhan?
No, he's still floating, and there's still bugs crawling out of his mouth, splatting down to the ground below.
In that case, I'll take my forging hammer, and I will slash at the mirror. Just.
Are you trying for the center, or are you trying for the edges?
I'll go for the center. I'll actually stand in front of it and just try to swing at its surface to see what effect it has, observing how the bolt seemed to have done something.
Okay. So the same sort of bending motion happens where the hammerhead that hits the mirror, and it goes in probably about a foot, and then your arm gets sucked into like the elbow.
Ooh.
And you feel this cold, slimy feeling on all the bits of flesh that is inside the mirror.
Oh, I immediately pull my arm back out.
Let's see here. What is your strength?
Strength is 11.
Okay, how about you roll under 9 to try to get it out of the mirror?
Oh boy, here we go.
It seems like it likes your arm and doesn't want to let go.
I got a 1.
Okay, good. All right, so you pull back, and as your arm comes out of the mirror, it seems like all of the external layers of skin have been removed. It almost feels like you had cut a line around your elbow to sever all the skin, and then it was basically peeled backwards over the top of your hand. And yeah, so you're looking down at like muscle and tissue, not necessarily bone, but I guess there's some bits and pieces where bone is exposed. So I should probably roll some dice for that.
Oh, I I try to gently tap it to confirm this strangeness I've just witnessed.
Okay, so you're going to take 6 from arm peeling skin, but you tap it and it's raw. It's painful wherever you touch.
Oh, right. Well, I look over to you, Travis, and I say, "Well, looks like we learned something. Don't stick your arm inside this thing." Oh.
And there's a sort of like gash / hole, and if you look into it, it makes the hairs on the back of your neck sort of rise.
What is that?
All right, guys. It actually looks like Tim showed up, and he's calling. Let's just add him to this call. All right. Hey, Tim, you there?
Yeah. Hey, how are you doing?
Not too bad. We figured you'd wake up eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. It happens. All right, just a quick little recap. Well, actually, hey, Phil, you want to recap what just happened?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're in the room. We start hearing the chanting still, and all of a sudden, Rayhan's body starts convulsing like violently. His back arches, and he ends up floating in the air while these black spiders start pouring out of his mouth and starts crawling on his flesh. As this is happening, I try to grab him and bring him down, but I end up being lifted up with him, and we're kind of just slowly twirling around while these spiderlings are just crawling about. And as they land off of him and they hit the floor, they become pools of blood and splatter. Eventually, we get the idea to try to destroy the mirror. Travis fires a bolt into the mirror, and that causes some sort of reaction as the sound of leather and flesh can be heard piercing it, and we hear screaming coming out of the other room. Now note at the same time that the chanting has now stopped at this point, and I get the idea to take my hammer and swing at the innards of the mirror, which concludes to me having my arm stuck inside of it. I struggle to pull it out, and when I finally do, I see that from my elbow down has been stripped of its flesh, and
wonderful.
And all that's left is exposed muscle, and it is raw to the touch.
We're not getting out of here.
So I said that Sergey's pretty much been sort of moaning and but now that you're back,
Okay.
I'd say that Sergey can muster enough strength to stand on his own. So you've seen all this stuff happening.
Okay. Okay.
And the door to the mother's room is slightly ajar.
Oh, okay.
Just happened.
Well, at least Travis hasn't been hurt.
Yeah,
too badly.
Tavis. Yeah, Tavis.
He's still whole for the most part.
Oh yeah, he's perfectly fine. Scared out of his wits, but perfectly fine otherwise.
So Sergey he slowly starts pulling himself up, and he looks at Luther's arm, and he just starts screaming. Then he looks over at Rayhan, sees him doing his deal, and he screams. And then he just falls back down.
Luther will make his way over to Sergey, and he'll lean down, and he will, with his good arm, he will pat him on the shoulder and say, "It's not as bad as it looks. I know that it looks bad. It's really quite okay. Maybe with time it'll be fine, but everything will be all right."
It will not be all right.
No, you must keep your head on. You see, we are warriors, knights on a crusade.
Never be all right.
No, we must keep a brave heart, for we are facing great adversity. We will overcome it, and they will sing stories of our exploits. Yes.
You start to
Yes.
hear what sounds like metal or like a suit of armor clanking. Some sound like that, but slightly different. It seems a little strange, but it's clanking like something walking, perhaps on all fours, like maybe a horse or something. But it's coming from that room where the chanting was, where Mother is.
No, what evil comes our way?
Well,
I do not know what this is. He pulls out his bow and he knocks an arrow on it, and he gets up and slowly limps away from the door.
Sort of like backing away, like looking at it.
Yeah, yeah.
Tavis, what are you doing?
Tavis is reloading his crossbow while vomiting as discreetly as possible in the corner.
And Luther, what does Luther do?
I will be in the middle of those two. And did I lose my hammer when that happened?
No, I'm going to say that you. Well, how about this? This is even more disturbing. Not only did you lose your flesh, but you held on to your hammer.
Yeah.
And your flesh hunk is hanging from your wrist. So all of the flesh that you lost is now just dangling, like, because you were holding onto the hammer. That sounds good.
Oh boy. Well, I look at it and I say out loud, probably you can stitch this on. This, perhaps, yes. Perhaps it could be stitched on. I kind of remove the hammer out of that hand and I put it in my left.
Okay. All right, so it sounds like you guys are just waiting for whatever's going to come out of this door to come out.
Yep.
Okay. So the door gets kicked wide. It clatters into what sounds like shelves or something with maybe glassware or fine china. And you see this woman who has strapped these metallic, almost like stilts, onto her arms and her legs. You can see parts where screws are drilled into her flesh. It seems like this is a recent development that she just put these on, because there's blood coming out of the places where the screws have gone into her muscle and maybe even to the bone. You're not sure. She's standing, like she's on all fours, and her face sort of ducks underneath the top of the door. And she looks in. She has this white kerchief around her head. Her teeth are, the ones that are there are black and rotting from decay. She has a sort of scrunched up left side of her face, almost like when she was born there was some sort of ailment there, or deformity. She's wearing this white and blue skirt and this sort of embroidered top that looks like it's made out of several different pieces of clothing and cloth that's stitched together. But there's this light in her eyes that just seems to look a little bit maddening. She sort of just stares at the lot of you, moving left and right with the pupils of her eyes. And I think this is probably when you unleash crossbows, or what do you guys do here? So maybe what does Luther do? Does he unleash?
Now are
Does he swing his hammer?
Are these contraptions also on her legs and stuff too?
Yeah, she basically has like 4 stilts on her arms and legs.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Metallic contraptions to make her taller. They look like they are sharp in places.
Okay. Here's my thought process. I'm thinking about running over there and focusing on one leg and just pushing it inward to the point where she kind of falls over.
Okay.
Making her vulnerable. That's what I'll do. And I think I will press the attack as well. That'll give me a +2 on my attack, but -4 to my defense.
Okay, so you are fighting like defensively, I guess? Is that what you're saying?
No. Press the attack is offensive.
Oh, offense. So you're sort of like charging, rushing, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay. All right, so you run forward. Why don't you said +2. Why don't you either roll under Dex or Strength, whatever is higher, but pretend like it's two higher.
Gotcha.
Whichever works better for you.
Oh dear. I got 4 points over my highest.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. So you run forward, try to grab onto one of the legs and push it, slam into it. Except some of the sharp edges seem to cut into your exposed hand and your other hand.
Oh.
So you're going to take 5. It seems like the edges, wherever there's like a 90-degree edge, there's like a almost imperceptible razor tip that you slide your hand over and slashes into it.
That puts me at 0.
Okay.
I'll collapse down, I suppose, then, and as I scream out loud,
Well, depending on what Tavis does, that could change. I don't know.
Oh, no, it couldn't. I've blown all my healing.
That's right. Okay, so what does Tavis do in response to that? So
Tavis
charge forward and just collapse, basically.
Yeah, great. I think Tavis is all too happy to avoid staring at whatever gory mess Luther is becoming. Happy might not be the right word, but it seems preferable. So he's going to actually duck in behind the curtain and just sort of try and block everything that's behind him out and fire into the mirror again.
Oh, okay. So you sort of duck behind the curtain. You fire into it. It's at point blank range. You're not going to miss it.
Yeah.
And when you do, the woman screams out again. You see blood come out of the side of her face, almost like someone shot her in the face with an arrow. So, Sergey, you see what's going on here. What do you do?
Well, when Sergey sees that happens, he goes, "I have idea," and he shoots an arrow at the mirror too.
Okay. Do you run closer to it, or do you just stay where you are?
Well, how far is he?
It's in the next room.
Oh, okay.
You guys are sort of in the hallway, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he'll run into the room and away from the stilt lady.
Okay. You shoot into the mirror. She sort of clatters down onto like her shoulders, like the legs that were underneath the front of her sort of collapse in, and her face sort of smashes off the ground. And you'll see the eyes sort of, she's laying on the side of her face, and she's looking down the hallway into the room where you both are standing in front of the mirror. She's collapsed on top of Luther. You hear like this wet smacking sound as she does.
Oh.
Alright, he feels like rolling initiative.
Okay. Do I want to tempt fate and roll this week?
If you'd like.
Okay.
I can. Alright.
Alright, well, I haven't
there.
rolled anything today yet, so I don't know how well.
Salt the bones.
4?
Alright, I rolled a 3. So she, her face is smacked down to the ground. She's looking in your direction. The mirror's there.
Now, does she have large sagging breasts that are hanging down?
No, she doesn't seem to. No.
Okay, so
Not
she's
at all,
not
actually.
the old lady.
I don't know. The face looks similar to that vision that you guys had.
Mm.
Okay.
So what does
Tavis, I shall let you decide what you're doing.
Yeah, what's Tavis do?
Okay.
He said the mirror's bolted onto the wall.
How quickly can... Oh, this would be a bad idea. I was going to light another thing on fire, but I don't think that Luther will enjoy that. Okay. I think Tavis is just going to reload as quickly as he can, because this is the only thing he knows works and will not deglove him.
Okay, so you load and then fire into the mirror again?
If he can do so in the same round, yeah.
Yeah, we'll save it again. It's fine.
Wonderful.
You're not running around or anything. All right, so you fire into the mirror. She sort of like quivers in pain. You'll see what looks like, there's some sort of wound that she sustained underneath her shirt, and it's starting to leak out and sort of drip down on the body of Luther.
Oh. And this is an abnormal wound. It's
The coloring seems like it's like a blackish red.
great.
You get this sort of scent of decay and just, I don't know, like swamp scent. You're not really sure. Just something that you might have smelled in a swamp. Just rotting vegetation.
Okay.
Now, is Luther completely covered by her?
She's sort of clattered down on top of him.
I mean, so if I went up and grabbed a leg or something, could I pull him out from underneath of her?
Yeah, you think if you lifted up a leg, you probably could do that.
Oh, I'd have to touch her and lift up a leg.
Yeah, like I said, she's sort of piled on top of him with the legs kind of sprawled out. She's still standing with the back two legs, although they're leaned a little bit now.
Okay. Well, I will try to do that. I will try to grab Luther and pull him out away from her.
Okay. Why don't you just roll? Let me see here. You guys got initiative. Yeah, just roll under dexterity.
Okay. Oh, that's good. I rolled a 1.
Oh, okay. You have no problem sort of avoiding the sharp edges of the legs. You grab onto maybe the flesh of her arm and push her aside. And, maybe describe how you pull them out.
Okay, so I just grab him by the ankle right as I lift her, I heave her mass up, and then I'm on the ground and I'm just pulling him away from her.
Okay. There's this blackish red trail where the viscous fluid was leaking out of her that is behind the dragging body. Okay. So the eyes of the woman look at you guys. At this point, she sort of clatters down, so she's laying on her side. So the legs are sort of just almost laying beside each other, on top of each other. She looks like a horse if you shot a horse and it fell over on its side. The eyes, there's that life that was in them seems to be fading, and then this series of syllables utters from her mouth. That weird effect of reality warping starts to happen again. You look at each other and your faces sort of seem to stretch and then tear and peel apart. You'll see someone's eyes explode and run down their face, and then they snap back to where they were. But then the warping continues. The walls bend inwards and up and stretch. The mirror actually falls off the wall, clatters to its side, and then lands face down. And then light streams in. You see the sky. You see traveling. You're moving faster than you think a raven could fly. And then you're hurled roughly into a pile in this small, circular, town center fountain. Sergei, you land roughly on this arm. It's like this statue of a man, and he's holding it up, and you land on the top of his bicep. So one side of your body, your head and torso, is hanging off one side, and your legs are hanging on the other side. Tavis, you've splashed down, and the man's phallus is literally pouring water on your head and your chest. This is part of the fountain. And Luther's unconscious body just splashes into the water face down.
Oh no.
You are somewhere else entirely. You seem to be in the center of a town. You see a few small children that have buckets that were dipping them in the pool that are just looking at you, and they look up at the sky, and they make this sort of gesture with their left hand over their hearts. Kind of goes up and then down and then sideways.
Okay. Is this anywhere... This isn't like the gesture that the guard made when he said peace above all.
It doesn't seem to be. It just seems to be some sort of other religious thing that this person is doing, or superstition, something like that. Almost like they're trying to guard their heart from what just happened.
Oh.
But they sort of look at you like with deer in the headlights, like, what the hell just happened?
Sergei carefully climbs down from off of the statue without trying to... He's trying not to destroy the statue, and he's trying not to rip himself up as he does so.
It's not too hard. You'll splash down into the water.
Okay, he pulls Luther's head up out of the water and slowly drags him out of the fountain.
Luther, we'll say that you have 1 hit point at this point.
Okay.
The water, and as he brings your head out of the water, you sort of come to.
I look around and I am in a bit of amazement, and I glance up at you and I say, "Did we vanquish her? I knew we did. That was a good fight, and I distracted her, didn't I?"
Your arm, you might want to tend to your arm. I'm not touching that arm.
No, don't worry. Things will be fine. That arm... and I'll look down and I'll look back up with some real unassuring gaze, and I'll say, "It'll be all right. We'll find something."
There's sort of this sort of red mist in the water where his arm was laying in the pool.
I do not know what to do for that. I have not seen that injury before.
So Tavis is being pissed on by the fountain. What do you do?
Yeah, I think Tavis is actually not that worried about that, because he can sense, I think, that it's made of stone.
Yeah, it seems to be made of stone. It seems
so
to be some sort of gel or something.
It's not as off-putting as you would think. But he's just frantically looking around to see if he can find Rayhan.
Yeah. You'll see Rayhan's body sort of missed the pool entirely.
Oh.
It looks like it's laying roughly face down on the dirt. He still has blood stain marks on his chin and on his chest. He does seem to be breathing raggedly, though.
But he's not floating.
He's not floating anymore.
Okay.
And you see no spiders, but there's blood stains that are on him. And I should describe the surrounding area. There seems like there's lots of old wooden thatched roofs. It seems like all of the buildings are made out of logs and timbers with like mud cementing them together. There isn't a lot of people out right now, however. Just those 2 children that are just staring at you. A boy and a girl. The boy looks like he's probably 8. The girl maybe 7 or 6.
Sergei slowly crawls up to the little children. Little children, do you know if there is doctor in your fine village? I will buy you a cookie if you say, and find one.
Where? He looks up at the sky. Are you one of the gods?
If you find doctor, I will give you answer after I buy you cookie.
And he sort of grabs his sister by the hair and he sort of takes off running, and the little girl starts to follow.
I hope you're going to find doctor.
They don't respond. They just run faster.
I do not know where we are. It is better than in the bosom of old lady and walking stilts woman. Anything is better than there.
I agree with you 100 times over.
Certainly so. Tavis drags Rayhan over into, the same pile that Luther's in. Or beside, anyway.
Okay. The sun is shining. There are some clouds in the sky, but it's pleasant. It's not cold. It seems like it's maybe 70, 75 degrees. There's a pleasant wind. You smell the scent of pollen and perhaps crops growing.
Sergei starts fumbling around and reaches into his backpack and pulls out a bottle and pulls the cork out of it and just starts drinking.
Okay.
You smell a very pungent, peaty smell of this horrible concoction that he's drinking down as it falls over his beard and drips down onto him. He's, I don't know why I drink this. Anyone want some?
Luther will look up at you and say, yeah, pass that over here.
He hands it over in the general direction of Luther's good arm.
As you're taking swigs out of the bottle, you see that, amongst the various rooftops of wooden, shingles, you see what looks like there's a building that's sticking up above the rest. It seems like some sort of temple or a church of some type. It seems like you're in a walled city as well. On the very edges of sight, you can see what looks like a wall that's surrounding the town.
Oh, we're on the inside of the wall?
Yeah, you seem like you're in a fountain, basically in the center of town.
Ah, okay.
That's what it appears to be.
Maybe if we go over to church, they might be able to point us in direction of hospital.
Yes, let us do that. I hope they don't take to offense to our current condition, but hopefully they will spare these travelers aid.
So Sergei puts his bow, straps it onto his back, and he goes over and tries to pick Rayhan up and put him over his shoulder.
It takes some work, but yeah, it's not too hard to do that.
And slowly starts limping off, blood coming out of his leg that had been sliced all up by the mirror. And he tries very delicately to walk in that general direction.
Okay. As you're walking, you'll see some thoroughfares, one to the left. It looks like there's a larger household that's there. It's surrounded by smaller buildings. It just seems a little bit more nice, more imposing than some of the other places. You'll see some thoroughfares to the right. There's one that's straight ahead that is the most direct path, it seems, to the church. As you come out the other side, there's more thoroughfares to the right. You'll see what looks like a similar sort of square, except you see various musicians that are out, set up in small little cubby holes of like just a thatched roof, two walls, and they're playing music under it. You see some small crowds of people. Some of them look pretty poor, pretty bad off, but they're throwing a few coppers in for the musician to keep playing. And eventually you'll see the church. It rises, like I said, higher than any other building in the town. You don't see any people there, and it looks like the front doors are chained. You'll see a sign that says, "Decommissioned by the 7." You can see some stained glass windows that are there that are pretty magnificent. Some of those have been smashed out.
We're not. We're in the middle of the 7 witches.
You'll see the large bell from the bell tower. It looks like it had been hurled out of the top. It's dented and smashed, and it's laying beside the door.
So with Rayhan over his shoulder, Sergei limps up over to the others and says, "We're not in good place, I don't think. We are in middle of town controlled by 7 witches. I hope they're not all old women with saggy pubes, like the ones that was in that place we just magically teleported from. We need to watch what we say in here."
You'll hear some booted feet start marching down the street, not from where you came from a different direction headed toward you. Seems like they're walking around the church.
I don't think that we should say anything about being in that lair with bugs. and the witch and man catchers. He quickly looks over at Tavis and sees the uniform that he's wearing. Oh, I don't think that uniform is a good thing.
Well, can I very well go naked in town square? Is that preferable? I need to know now.
Not really. Not really. It's not really preferable. Preferable.
Okay. Then this is how.
Halt there! What are you doing? But they're not talking to you. It seems like they're talking to someone else that you can't see around the church. You know that's forbidden. You'll hear the sound of smashing pottery, perhaps. Yells, screams, and then you'll hear the marching feet headed away from you.
Was it on the other side of the church?
Yeah, you can't see any of this. You just hear it from the other side of the church. So some of the voices are bouncing off the walls. You hear the echoes.
Does it look like there are any alleyways we could duck into until we have our bearings?
Yeah, there are some smaller alleyways that are off of the thoroughfares that you can duck into. You'll see some people walking around that are, they look at you strangely, but they don't really pay too much attention. They keep moving.
Should we find a shadowed corner until we have our next move planned out, Sergei?
I think what we should do is possibly hide our weapons in here somewhere. I'm not certain, because they tried to disarm us. If it is same ones, the Peace Walkers, or whatever they were called, then they might very well try to disarm us.
So you guys are basically moving into an alleyway as you're talking, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. You're going to see some graffiti that basically says peace at any cost.
Oh, great.
Yes, I don't think that we are in good place.
The weather had me hopeful.
Yes. It's not as bad as where we were, but nevertheless, we need to get our story straight, because we cannot just hide in alleys like a rat and cat fighting in an alley.
Oh, leave that to me. I think I can conjure something up that could very well cover for what we did.
Okay, I like to hear a story for how meat hanging off your arm.
I will tell them that we fought against a demon, and that this demon had a follower of cults underneath it, and this creature had 12 legs of spine, and this creature had a pulsy face, boiled with disease and cancerous tumors dotting its face, and we were slaying it, and it was breathing fire as well. That's why my arm is like this. And while that's happened, we managed to slay the beast, but before it fell, it guttered some demonic blasphemy that sent us astray. And that's how we wound up here.
I guess it would be serviceable.
If they wouldn't object to us taking up arms against such a poor, misunderstood thing.
Yes, they might be you killed our poor, precious demon.
Oh no, the demon was not poor. It had riches that it had stolen from the people. Yes. And you'll be looking up in the sky as he's doing this, and he clearly looks like he's vividly imagining the whole thing.
Maybe we shouldn't use something quite so imaginative. Maybe we could just say that there were horrible men marching from north, and they attacked us, and we heard of peace of the sisters here, and we decided to come here. But how does that explain how we landed in Fountain?
I'll hold up my wounded arm and I say, but this isn't enough proof. You don't get this wound from being hunted. You get this wound from something demonic.
What you thought was a pile of garbage turns out to be some person hiding underneath some refuse. He sort of sits up and sort of stretches and looks at you. What is this talk of demons and fountains?
I look towards him.
You woke me up from my dream where I still had my parts.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry, good sir. We're just in a bit of a pinch at the moment, and I hold up my wounded arm, and I say, well, we're quite wounded, you see, and we're just trying to seek aid. You wouldn't happen to know where we could find some, would you? The sooner that you say so, we'll be on our way and let you go back to your wonderful dream.
He sort of looks you all up and down, and he squints his face when he sees your hand. Oh, that's terrible. Did they do that? The seven. Did you not learn your lessons?
No, they did not do that to us. We have not met Seven. We just arrived here. We heard of peace, and we were fighting horrible thing, as my friend here with the injured arm has said.
Yes.
And a horrible creature, and we... What was your story? What did you say again?
It had 10 sharp legs and a tumorous face, and it breathed fire upon us, and... Oh, it was a glorious battle. I waged forward with my sword held high, and I was charging at it, dancing around its legs as it tried to pierce my flesh. And Tavis over there, with his expert eye, he was shooting at every nook and cranny of the creature. And Sergei, he was such a brave man. He yelled and roared, and the beast, it trembled a bit at his mighty yell, and he ran forward and was bashing its legs in twine. And we slew that beast, but not before it took a trophy, and I held up my arm. Oh, it took a trophy of flesh and blood, but it was worth it. It was worth it, for we are crusaders of justice.
You'll see the garbage pile move, and there's a sort of anorexic-looking woman, just bony and skinny, but not as badly as some of the ones you've seen. She's rubbing her eyes and just looking wide-eyed at you all. The man seems thoroughly impressed. His eyes are wide, and he's nodding slowly to what you're saying. So you would have someone help you. If you haven't talked to the seven, that is usually one of the first steps. Just one of them. You don't have to talk to all of them, but just so they know who's here. Everyone is. Seems like there's not a lot of people out this afternoon. I wonder where they all are. Maybe there's some sort of gathering.
Would there be a gathering in certain place? Would there be some place we can find one of seven, maybe?
Perhaps they're on the bridge.
Well,
greeting the noonday sun.
How can we get to bridge from here?
Well, go down that way and you'll pass this pool of the general's pool. You'll see him. Quite an impressive statue.
Yes, we've seen the statue.
You just continue going that way and you'll see the main gate. And the guards, of course. Outside the wall, there's the bridge. There's been a lot of refugees lately.
Very good. Well, we do not wish to disturb your rest any longer. Please, go back to sleep now, if that is your wish.
We're all going to be sleeping soon when the army descends upon us.
What army is that, sir?
Oh, the army from the north. They'll come down. They're going to destroy us all. The witches say they can protect us. I think the Empire is going to make a lesson of us. It's too much fighting, too much death.
Are you saying you don't believe that the witches can keep us all safe and sound?
I saw the signs like everyone else did. Come to Karlstadt, they'll protect you with their their powers, but what can skinny old women do against the might of thousands of bloodthirsty soldiers with a righteous cause? The Cantel Empire will descend upon us like a plague of locusts, and we will be no more. But I did not want to go south to Wurzburg. I've heard dark things of that Prince Bishop.
Such as?
I hear he does very crude things in his chambers, and that though he professes with his lips that he is of the righteous, he is corrupt and befouled as the darkest hearts, one of these witches. Many people have flocked to him, though. Many from my town fled south, but I don't know. I'm just hoping that they pass us. Lore was my town. It was on the nice river there, but we were in the direct line of the army's attack, they say, and I decided to come east to here instead of fleeing to the south. Maybe they'll just pass us by. I just have a bad feeling about it all. You know, when you just lose hope and despair creeps upon you, it just doesn't really matter what you choose. So here I sit with my wife in this garbage, trying to avoid the eyes of those who pass by, and perhaps one day things will get better.
Luther's eyes will start to kind of swell up, sort of teary-eyed, and he'll lean over and to the man and put his hand on his shoulder, his good hand on his shoulder. Okay. He'll say to him, "Never lose hope, never, for that is the ember that burns in your soul. And as long as you keep it fed with hope, you will be kept alive. Good will come, trust on that. For there are men in this world, good men, who will fight the good fight and keep people like you safe. And those men are us. We are crusaders of justice, and we will go forth and defeat them."
Are you saying that you will stop this army from killing us all? Is that what you're saying? He sort of grabs like beside your, on the front of your armor there and pulls you towards him, and he has this sort of crazy look in his eye. He's looking like it's some sort of hopeful glance in your face. He's sort of imploring you to say yes, it seems, and he wants you to stop this army.
There have been accounts in all throughout history of how few men have stood against the many and defeated them thoroughly. Why, have you heard of the Knights of Thorland? They were brave men, each of them wielding power unlike any other, but their most strongest power, the one that they wielded best, was that of faith. They had faith in themselves and faith in the ability to win, and when they did, why, there was the exploits of Jargus the Grand, a large man, a man who could sit around the table. It would take 10 chairs to sit his bottom, but be as round as he is, he had the strength of an ox, and he wielded a mighty hammer in battle, and he would smite down those who had stood against him. My friend, never lose hope. Never. For men like that exist, and they exist in here, and I kind of point to his chest.
He looks left and right as if he's making sure no one is seeing him. I've heard that if you gather up the witches' heads, that perhaps the Empire would pass us by. That, for you see, they think they are blasphemous. They are devout. They all worship the All in various ways, but both factions, both faiths look down upon witchery and devilry and all these things that these witches stand for. He looks around, he looks at Tavis, then he looks at Sergei. You seem like the type that could perhaps do something like that, but the risks to your soul, they do things in the dark. They take people that never return.
Yes, we have seen their flesh factory. We have seen what they do to those that they take that never return.
There's tears that come out of his eyes, and he lets go of Luther, and he sort of crawls over the garbage and stands before Sergei. And then he lowers the front of his pants and shows you that there's nothing left. It's all been stitched up, like those people that were hanging upside down in the room.
I see you have understanding.
They did this to me.
Here's thought maybe you not think of. You see all evil, all bad things happening here? Maybe this Kandal army is the breath of fresh air coming to clean out all of this evil. Maybe they are a good thing coming here.
I had not thought of that.
Yes, indeed. Those who promised to protect you, have they really protected you?
Can they be worse than these witches and than the Prince Bishop down in Vorsborg? Can they really be worse than them?
You make a very good point.
Now that I think of it, I was in Mosher and Militia, and we did some bad things, so maybe they aren't such a good thing.
I don't know.
He just sits there and he starts looking up in the sky, stroking his beard.
I've heard rumors that the only reason that the Empire is coming south is to expand their borders. They care not for being devout or righteous. They're just using it as an advantage. But perhaps I have been thinking of this all wrong. Maybe when their army descends upon us, spills the allotted amount of blood, things will get better. He sort of looks down at the garbage, and he reaches out his hand to his wife, and he helps her out. She has what looks like might have been a nice dress at one point, sort of like a dress someone might wear to temple or something like that. But it's all worn, and there's pieces that have been ripped off that have been stitched back with other pieces of clothing. She's wearing what looks like men's boots that don't fit her very well. I am Jarvis, and this is my wife Samantha. If there's anything that we can do, we can move around. We've been here for quite some time, and as I've showed you, they trust in my loyalty for my reprogramming, my lessons that they taught me. You see him sort of clench his right fist as he says lessons.
Greetings to you both, I say. Do you think you could kind of take us to someone who can mend to our wounds? And I'll kind of lift up my bad arm again. This hurts, mind you. It hurts quite a bit.
I do know of someone, but if it's found out that you're going to someone other than the Seven for such things, there may be consequences. But you seem like you are in dire need of the healing arts. The religions of both the righteous and devout have been banished here. The Seven claim that these strifes between these factions have caused much bloodshed. They've outlawed them. I know of the secret church. They may be there now, they may not be, but...
Well,
Come, I'll show you.
It would be preferable to staying here. We are armed in the middle of of town that does not like people being armed, and we look very odd with flesh hanging from our arm. So we need to find someplace else to be at this moment.
Samantha, get those blankets there. And she'll reach down and you see that she has, when she bends down to pick up the blankets, there's like scars and stitch marks on her back. Like maybe perhaps within a couple months ago something was done to her, some sort of surgery. She reaches down and grabs the blankets, and she'll go first to Luther, and she'll drape a blanket around you, and then she'll go to Tavis next, and then finally Sergei. Sergei's blanket's a little bit different. The other two are like dark green, and Sergei's is like a light blue blanket. But they're all sort of weathered, and they smell like body odor, perhaps even like mildew sent to them.
Is there one that Tavis might be able to wrap around Rayhan as he drags him? Or like a garbage bag or something.
Well, he's still over my shoulder, so maybe if they just...
Oh, okay. I thought Luther was over his shoulder. Okay.
Now Luther's stumbling along.
Yeah.
Oh, good. That works.
Maybe if they just wrap one over the top of me, it might look like I just have a severe hunch or something.
Yeah, she'll do that. She'll drape it over you. And Jarvis will sort of look. All right. Although he sort of looks at Tavis like a second glance, you have one of their uniforms. You might not need to have the blanket. In fact, if you go ahead of us, there may not be any questions at all.
It's tattered, bloody, and conspicuous, though, is it not?
Well, it is, but...
we shall just have to march quickly, then.
So Samantha, get the jug. She reaches down and pulls out this large, like, clay pottery jug. Tear off a bit of that blanket there and clean off some of the mess. And she'll start dumping what smells like ale on your suit, and she's wiping off the blood as best she can. As she's doing so, she's pretty close to you. She reeks pretty bad. But you can see that she probably was attractive at some point. The loss of flesh, and where you can see the bones, kind of like her cheekbones are kind of sticking out. All these things. If you kind of sort of use your imagination a bit, you think that at one point she was probably more attractive, but she seems aged. She seems older than what she is. But she's careful. She's kind. Even when she's scrubbing your face, she seems like she's gentle. And she has these green eyes that just seem like, almost like if you look in her eyes, you can kind of forget the rest of her, the way she looks, all the damage that's been done. And you can kind of see like a deep, sorrowful beauty almost. Like the beauty is because of the sadness that's in her eyes. And after some time, you think that most of the blood and all the blood on your skin and arms has been wiped away. You have a scent of ale about you now, but from far away, it looks like you're clean, although a little bit wet. Good.
I think that at this point, Tavis has found a newfound resolve in the aroma of ale around him. It reminds him of the good old days.
I can't imagine we smell a whole lot better falling in the sewage from being swallowed by giant maggots and covered in rotting creatures.
You make a good point.
Yeah.
So they might be looking at us thinking that we smell bad.
That seems likely.
So Jarvis sort of motions forward for Tavis to take the lead. I'll tell you where to go. Just head towards the entrance there, and when we get close, we're going to make a right.
Tavis just starts walking as confidently as he can. Trying desperately to mask the fact that he's referring to Jarvis for directions.
So yeah, every once in a while he'll tell you, walk on the right side. At one point he says, keep your eyes down as you pass some of those soldiers that are wearing the same uniform that you are, sort of that blue and red, like military uniform. You see most of them have man catchers with them. They don't really seem to have other weapons, though. Seems like, everything they have seems to be peaceful, and also about capture. You see some of them that have nets as well. But most of them look bored. They're looking in the direction of the main entrance to the walled town. You'll see more people start to fill up the streets. Lots of people that look like refugees. Most of them are either carrying like bags that you think might be all their worldly possessions. You see people camped out sort of beside the entrance to the town. And it starts to become crowded. You have to sort of weave through people, and with you leading it, everyone sort of parts for you. They see you there. Do you say anything to these people, or do you just sort of like push your way through?
I don't think he would chance saying anything to those people.
Okay. But like I said, they start to part if they see you coming. You'll see a few of the guards that sort of look at you and they'll nod. They don't seem to care or notice that they haven't met you before. It seems like they're just used to that, perhaps. You're not really sure. At some point, Jarvis says, "Okay, duck into this alley to the right, just right up there by the lamppost there."
And he follows suit.
You start to head down just a more narrow, crowded alleyway. There's lots of garbage here. You'll see. It looks like there's no restrooms or anything for people to go. There's so many people here. It's so crowded. There's urine. You just smell it coming off of the walls. You'll see just it looks like other people are also sleeping in garbage here. It seems to be fairly common. But you'll move down quite a ways, and eventually you'll see a very normal-looking building. Looks like perhaps it was a nice house at one point, probably about 100 years ago, but it's fallen into disrepair and decay. The windows are all shuttered up. There's a chain on the door, but when you move towards it, Jarvis sort of points at it, you'll see that it's not locked. It only appears to be locked. It seems like, as you get closer, you're like, wait a minute, and it looks like it turns. And, you'll see Jarvis go up to it and basically just unlatch it without a key. And then he'll motion for everyone to go in the door.
Sergei just lugs Rayhan's body in through the doorway.
Okay. You'll go in, and the floorboards that you're standing on they sort of give a little bit underneath your feet. You think that if you would jump up and down, you probably would fall through. But as long as you don't do that, it seems like they're steady and sturdy enough. You don't see anyone at the moment. All the walls are undecorated. There are some old carpets in places on the floor. You'll see some stairs going up to another level. And Jarvis just goes over to the rug, and he starts rolling it up, and you'll see a large doorway down. And he knocks. And then a similar knock in response. And then it starts to open up. Jarvis will help the door open, and you'll see what looks about 4 people. There's a woman who's middle-aged. There's a younger guy. Looks like he has a scar across his face. There's an old man who looks pretty full of life, even though his age would seem to indicate that he should be hobbling around on a cane, but he seems to have the strength about him. And then there's a young woman who looks like she has been through a lot. You're not really sure exactly why you get that impression, but her eyes sort of dart left and right. She looks panicked and scared. But when she sees Jarvis, she seems to relax a little bit. Come. The old man just sort of motions down the stairs and sort of stands off to the side. If you're a friend of Jarvis, then You are welcome here. Please enter. May the blessings of the all be with you.
Thank you.
So do you guys all just sort of pile down the stairs?
Yeah, Luther will nod in response to them and just slowly slosh his way down.
Okay.
Sergei looks from all the corners of the room, cautiously and carefully looking at all, making sure that there's nothing or no one hiding in the shadows and anywhere in the room. And he limps slowly over to the trap door in the floor, and he starts carefully feeling the steps with his foot, see if he thinks that he could support himself and Rayhan with the weight of it. And then he descends down the ladder.
Yeah, Sergei probably thinks that if he keeps his footing wide, or if he walks on the right side or the left side, there's more strength there and more support. So he thinks if he walks there, he'd be fine.
He does so.
So the stairs creak underneath your feet. You'll go down several flights of them. They turn and descend, and then turn and descend. And eventually you'll end up in this almost excavated underneath room. It doesn't look like it was built, but more it was dug out after the fact. You see like the stairs seem like they're more recent development. Maybe even they put in the trapdoor within perhaps the last 5 years or something like that. But there's a table there, and you'll see an altar that's pretty sparse. There's just one candle on it. There's no other insignia or anything in the room. And immediately the old man will go over to Luther and, may I look at your wounds?
Oh, yes, please do so, and I will extend my wounded arm.
Those horrible bitches did this, didn't they?
Oh, yes, indeed they did, but it was a glorious battle, I have to say. We struck it to them.
Yeah, he sort of turns your hand over, and you can tell like he's trying not to touch you, as little as possible. He's like, I can bandage this, but I've never seen anybody flayed like this before. This is horrible. That must sting to have the air touch it.
Oh, it does, but I think of it as a minor reward for vanquishing evil.
I assume that you'll grow skin back. I said I've never seen this before. Yes, gather the supplies. We'll wrap you up here. And he looks over to Sergei's leg. What happened there?
It was same battle, same thing, same place, same horrible things happened to all of us, except for Tavis here. He is unharmed.
He's just soaking in blood. Poor blood.
Only his soul is harmed. He is physically not hurt.
That often is more painful. The injuries that you cannot see. You may stay here and rest. I can tell that you're new here. He looks at your weapons and your armor. You will have to leave these down below if you walk around the town. I'm surprised you weren't accosted. But I see the blankets that probably kept prying eyes from seeing you. Jarvis, please have some food made ready. Samantha, would you mind helping him? And you'll see that everyone just sort of follows his lead. They don't really jump in his way. They don't make any, opinions known. They just seem pretty quiet as a general rule, you'll notice. But he goes around and bandages your wounds, gives you things to drink and eat. The food is good, it's edible, but you can tell that it's slightly on the older side. But none of them here are overweight. They all seem a little bit on the thin side. So you might even wonder if the food that they're giving you might be, their own food. You're not sure. But they seem to be taking care of you and are being kind.
So Sergei carefully puts Rayhan down over in one corner, and then he himself just plops down and leans his back up against the wall.
When you put Sergei down, you see that even though his eyes are closed, the whites are still sort of visible. as if he's still in some sort of trance or state.
I smack him in the face. Wake up!
You just hear the smacking of flesh on flesh, and nothing happens.
Rayhan. Oh, Rayhan. There's something wrong with Rayhan.
I'm a little concerned as to whether he's affected in the way the chefs were.
Should we bind him? Is there some spell of evil cast on him?
I don't know yet.
My father always used to say, when in doubt, tie him up. So let's do that.
That is good advice. That sounds like something my father would have said.
Davis retrieves his manacles from, he'd actually given them to Rayhan, so, from his person, and, clicks them shut around his wrists behind his back.
You'll see that Samantha is tying his legs, and she sort of gives you this strange look. You're not perhaps sure what she's trying to imply as she looks at you, but she looks right at you as you do it. And she ties the knot of the rope, and then she seems like she's paying attention once again to what she's doing.
Though Sergei pulls his bottle of rot gut out of his backpack and uncorks it and holds it under Rayhan's nose. See if that stirs anything in him.
Sadly, it doesn't seem to change his state.
Well, I'm going to drink. It is good time for drinking. So Sergei just leans his head back against the wall and closes his eyes and takes another sip.
Tavis is still kind of focused overcautiously on Rayhan, and asks Luther, "Do you still have your helmet?"
Probably not.
We'll say that you do. That's fine.
Okay. Sweet.
Can I borrow it for a moment?
Oh, yes.
For the night.
I will take my one arm and I will pry the helmet off and I will hand it to you.
Tavis pauses, a little disconcerted at you having to use only one arm, and slides the helmet over Rayhan's head, backwards, in a familiar way.
Luther will take a sigh and he'll look at the helmet and he'll look back at Tavis and he'll say, oh, I forgot. I really hope that doesn't happen. I don't want to clean that out.
You'll see the old man look a little concerned. He looks at Rayhan's body. What is that all about?
Before, when we were inside, fighting off the hellish hordes that these witches had unleashed upon us, some of us became possessed and spat upon...
When did this happen?
Well, it happened when we were fighting the demon with the many legs and spat about fire and acid.
What happened with that thing? I seem to have gone blank.
Oh, well, allow me to remind you of what had happened. He'll have a huge grin on his face. And...
Well, I remember thing caught on fire, and I woke up and I have helmet on my head, like you have put on Rayhan.
Oh, yes, indeed. Well, you see, you had become bewitched, and your stout prowess has become uncompromised by this foul magic. So in order to subdue you and stop you from spitting upon us foulness, we had to place the helmet upon your head to ensure that you would be safe, and us as well. However, your constitution pulled through, and your will broke the spell, and you came to. So I didn't have to shine my helmet again.
You're telling me that evil magic possessed me? You're telling me that this is what happened to me?
No, not like this, but I will say this. You're a man of strong will, and you beat that spell. That's the Sergei I know. And I almost hit patch on the chest with my bandaged arm, and I'll pause, and I'll be like, I'll do it with the other one.
Sergei's eyes just open wide, and he starts looking around the room suspiciously at everything. He says, I do not remember this. And he starts fumbling through his backpack like he's looking for something.
You'll see the old man. He'll reach forward and sort of touch Sergei on the arm, trying to comfort him. Calm yourself. You're safe here. We will protect you.
The darkness can see in every corner. Evil can lurk around every corner. You cannot ever be safe. You can never be safe. And you find what he's looking for. He pulls out this little bag of salt, and he sprinkles it around him in a circle.
Yes, I have heard that perhaps can keep things out at times. Is there truth to this?
It is one of many things that can be utilized that will dissuade evil from coming in your direction. And he just seems almost on a state of panic.
I'm sure it also makes you look delicious, Sergei.
He's he didn't even hear what he says. He fumbles around his backpack and he pulls out a candle and puts it right in front of him and starts striking a tinderbox until he gets the flame on the candle lit, and he's just sitting there with his hands over moving around. His eyes are just open wide. He's just making strange sounds.
Luther will look rather. He'll seem kind of oblivious to this, and as he looks over at Sergei, he'll say, "See, Sergei is a wise man of experienced adventuring. He knows what to do in these situations. That's why I look up to him. He is an admirable fellow, always alert. You can never get the drop on Sergei."
While he's saying that, he lifts his hands into the air and they start shaking wildly. He goes, "Runa, Runa."
Sergei, you're going to see a rat crawling along the edge of the dugout floor, and the light of the candle seems like it's there's flashing in its eyes, and it's slowly like moving forward towards you, which seems kind of unnatural for a rat. You know, rats usually shy away from people, but it's just slowly walking towards the candlelight.
He crawls up onto all fours and he just checks to make sure that the ring of salt around him is complete, and he just looks at the rat in the eyes. "Have you come for me?"
It moves a few steps to the right and then starts moving forward again.
"It is not time yet."
You'll see the rat start to eat some of the salt.
He reaches out and tries to pick up the rat.
Okay, are you trying to like catch it or like pet it? Like what are you trying to do?
Like he's slowly just reaching his hand out, then he just tries to pick it up.
Okay. Why don't you roll under Dex to see if you can catch it, because it's gonna try to shy away from your hand at the last minute.
Let's see, roll a d. Oh, I rolled a 19. That's awfully high.
Okay, so you'll roll. You reach out, you try to grab it, and it'll bounce back a few feet and sort of move back against the wall, and then it'll start to come close again. The old man sort of takes an interest in this. He's moved over towards the altar. He's picked up his own candle, but he's not moving any closer. Jarvis and Samantha they seem a little freaked out. The whole sitting in a circle assault thing kind of seems like it freaked them out a little bit. The other people that are there are just quiet. The young woman, the man. But the rat's coming back to the salt again.
Once it comes up to the salt again, he tries to catch it once more.
Okay, give me a roll.
Okay, I rolled a 6 this time.
Okay, this time you catch it and it squeals and squeaks. It struggles and writhes in your hands.
Is it doing anything unnatural, or is it?
It looks like it's trying to bite your thumb.
Okay. He says, "You are present from the old ones, aren't you? You have come to give me insight."
And at this point, it probably tries to bite your thumb. So let's just roll a dice here. No, it snaps at the tip of your thumb, but you pull back just in the nick of time.
He quickly reaches into his cloak and pulls out a dagger and guts it.
Okay. The smell of gutted rat will fill the small compartment. You'll see the girl Samantha put her hand to her mouth. But she seems interested at the same time, almost like it's something strange and unusual that she's seeing for the first time.
He slowly lets the blood of the rat leak out around the salt ring, and then he lays it down and pulls its intestines out and throws them up into the air. And as they land on the ground, he just starts frantically looking at them at the way that they landed, and he starts waving his hands over. Urunja, Urundara, Urutara. And his eyes just open as wide as humanly possible as he's looking at them.
So in Sergei's mind's eye, he starts to see this vision. He sees women of various ages and body types all sitting around. This time there's 6 of them. They seem to be discussing things, but the words are strange and unfathomable to you. You feel like you're floating above them. You sort of, wherever you put your eyes, that's where the vision seems to focus. They seem like they're fighting. At one point, a dagger is in the hands of one of them, and she throws it past the head of another one. And, they're screaming, and you'll see hands upraised, and then a large woman stands up and yells something, and they all stop. It seems like they've been fighting or arguing for quite some time. You'll see her point to a map, and it's a map of the area. You'll see all the towns, Karlstadt and Hammelburg to the north where you were. You'll see where she points to Goblin Hill, however, it says Mother. It doesn't say Goblin Hill. But all the various places and such, and at the very top of the map, you'll see that there's like 4 symbols that represent the army, perhaps. Looks like the army is in 4 distinct units that are marching south. And she goes over and she moves one on the left side of the mount down a few inches, and she moves another one right to where Hammelburg is. And she moves another one that it's going to be going to the east of Goblin Hill and around. And they seem to be yelling and pointing at the map. And then you're back within yourself. The vision ends.
Okay, I was trying to see if my speaker was muted or not. He just stays motionless for a while. He says, "I see vision. I see a vision of the sisters. I see what they were fighting. They were arguing. They were almost at each other's throats. But then they look at the map, and they move position of army coming from north. They are now upon Hammelburg. All is not well with sisters. There's disunity amongst them. Yes, these are gifts. These are visions that I was given, that I was meant to see." And he just sits there, not really looking at anyone in particular, but his eyes just roving around the room, and he's just trembling.
Tavis, while this is going on, you notice that Samantha was pulling out a single hair from her head, one after the other. Seemed like maybe some nervous tick that she has. You're not sure, but you'll just see her reach up and just tug sharply, and then she'll grab another hair and tug it sharply. And you'll see that on the right side of her head, there seems like there's less hair than on the left side of her head.
Is she doing anything in particular with him?
She just seems to be staring at Sergei while she's doing this.
All Tavis feels like he can do is just keep an eye on her.
Okay. Yeah, it's just something that you noticed.
Yeah.
The old man is holding the candle, and he's approaching you. Sergei. So you've seen this. You have the sight.
There was large woman who was directing group, and the rest of them were fighting very intensely. One pulled knife and was attempting to kill another one, but large woman called order. All is not well with sisters. All is not well with sisters.
It sounds like you're talking about the provider. That is the name that she goes by. They don't use their real names. They come up with aliases.
They pointed at a place on the map that was written Mother.
Yes, I believe one of them is called the Mother, though she isn't here very much. I think she's off somewhere in the north. I remember... He looks over at Jarvis, and Jarvis seems like he's zoned out at this point. Don't talk to me about the Mother. But there's other names they have. The Reminder, or the Watcher. What's that last one's name? They're all so strange. One was the Maker, and they all have these creatures that travel with them, strange abominations that they have brought forth from some hellish plane of existence that support them and aid them. They all have them. I think even one of them has two of them. Strange, demonic things.
Sergei just seems to be zoned out. He's not looking at anything in particular or anyone. He's just, his eyes roving around the room. Still with a dead rat in his hand and a bloody knife in the other one.
Luther will look over at Sergei and he'll just nod his head and say, "Good show, sir. Good show. See, that is why we like Sergei. He is a visionary. Look at him. Already seeing the plans through evil's heart. Admirable. I can only hope to have such prowess as him." Yes, I concur.
You'll see Jarvis. He comes forward and grabs Sergei by the shoulders and looks right in your eye. You're going to stop them, right? This one, and he points over at Luther, said that you were here to make things right.
It must
protect
be.
us from that army.
It must be the reason. Why would sky open up and vomit us out and we land in fountain in the middle of this town? It is omen. It is sign. We must. It is sign. It is sign. It is omen. It is omen. It is omen. It is sign. And he keeps going on like that for a bit.
Tavis is going to find the part of the room farthest away from both Sergei and Luther, and just sort of lean against the wall facing them and try to
Samantha's
rest.
eyes seem to follow you, Tavis.
Sorry, who's?
Samantha. She's the girl that was
Right.
She's
Okay,
really
yeah.
skinny and green eyes,
Green eyes. Yeah.
plucking out her hair.
I just didn't hear.
Oh, sorry. Is there anything we can do for you? Says the man with he seems like he's some sort of priest. We've bandaged your wounds, we've fed you, given you something to drink. Would you stay the night? We have some cots there.
That would be wonderful. You've been far more gracious than you'd ever need to be, but we're thankful.
I will have vespers before nightfall, and then you can do as you wish. You can stay. You're welcome here.
We have suffered some grievous wounds. It might be a good idea for us not to move for a little bit. Sergei says that, but he's still not really looking at anyone. Looks like he's looking through everyone at the corners of the room.
You're welcome to stay as long as you like. We do move from time to time for our own safety. We perform our beliefs in secret for their forbidden out in the main thoroughfares and streets. I don't know if you saw, but our temple was shut down.
I saw, yes, I saw temple. It was, the doors were barred. I thought I was just seeing things, though.
No, religion is forbidden here. So we have moved underground. Some of my fellow priests were taken away to be re-educated. When they came back, they were shadows of their former self. And he looks over at Jarvis.
These are dark days indeed, when a man can no longer worship the righteous and be punished for it.
But you're more than welcome to stay. Yes, make yourself comfortable.
Sergei stands up, and he inhales and holds his breath, and then he takes his foot and moves and cuts a line through the circle of salt, and then he steps out of it and just exhales and just looks around really carefully as if he's expecting something to jump on him.
Nothing does.
When he sees that nothing does, he just goes over into a wall and curls up into a fetal position and drags one of the moldy blankets and covers himself with it.
The middle-aged woman will bring a small pillow over to Sergei. Though she looks like she has a little bit of fear in her eyes as she hands it to you.
Oh, he takes it and holds it like a teddy bear.
As you look at the pillow, it seems like it has a name engraved on it. It says Angie, and there's a little horse. It's sort of stitched into it. You'll see a small little fence motif. It looks like a kid's pillow, but you don't see any kids here.
Angie.
The woman sort of winces as you say her name, and say the name, and then she'll turn around and head back over to the old man beside him, and she seems like they're setting things up. They're lighting candles. There's some sort of holy book that's opened on the temple or on the altar. But people sort of just sit down, they'll drink, they'll eat, but there's not much talking here. There's just a sort of aura, ambiance of sorrow and solitude and quiet.
Sergei is just trying to sleep.
Okay. Does Tavis try to crash out for the night as well?
Yeah, I think he's just gonna try and peel off his ragged garments and slip under one of the blankets to doze, but facing wherever Samantha is in the room, so that if she does anything, I don't know, if she starts walking around in the night, he might notice.
Okay.
He's curious, but doesn't know what to make of her.
Okay. And Luther?
Luther will hand back the blanket to one of them and simply say, "Oh, don't worry, I've impeded on you all long enough. One of you take the blanket instead." And he'll take what's left of the food that he hasn't eaten. He'll eat only half of what he's been given and kind of hand it back to them and say, "You all partake of this as well. You deserve this as much as I." And he will just kind of sit in his chair and kind of look slightly spaced out and slightly vigilant at the same time, just kind of looking around the room.
Luther, as you're looking around, when you basically just look at the younger guy with the scar, and for a second you swear that his stomach just sort of opens up and vomits out like the parts of small children, little bits of flesh and hands and legs, and they're all writhing, but maybe you shake your head or something and it all sort of goes away.
Luther will tilt his head and Well, he looks at him and goes, Well, that was interesting.
You'll see the young woman that's in there that you just met. She hasn't really said much, but she reaches up and grabs one of the holy books and moves it on the altar. And for a second, you swear that you see her skeleton through her skin. You see the muscles moving, and I'm not really sure. It just seems like a machine of sorts. The various, this muscle pulls, that limb moves. You sort of see her as just a collection of parts and not really a person.
Oh, Luther will rub his eyes and blink for a second, and then he'll start tapping slightly with his hand on the table. Not to be loud or anything, just almost like a nervous tick, if you will. And then he'll try to stare deeply into the candle, making sense of what he has seen, or trying to at least.
All three of you, I believe, had an arm attached to you at one point, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. You're going to start to feel shadow limb pain.
Oh.
It feels like someone is stabbing this hand that you no longer possess. There's this sharp pain that sort of radiates up what you assume is where your arm was, into that section of your body where it was attached to. So I think Tavis had it in his right thigh, and Sergey, I think you had two of them on, so you.
Well, I just had the one on the
just
side.
one? Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
But wherever that limb was attached, you start to feel like sharp pain that makes it almost impossible to sleep.
Hopefully Sergey's not also having phantom ear pain.
Yeah. The ear that was ripped off. That's just real pain. That's not phantom ear pain.
Yeah, fair enough.
But, if you guys want to sleep, I'm going to have you try to roll on your constitution to try to ignore this pain to fall into sleep. Slumber.
What if I drink profusely?
If you drink profusely, pretend like your constitution is like 4 higher.
Okay.
RPGs, rewarding alcoholism all the
time.
Yes. Remember, kids, drink up.
Does a body good.
Sergey continues to nurse his bottle through the night.
Tavis just can't get a wink.
So, those nights where you're tossing and turning, and I guess it's similar to if you have like a headache. You just can't get past that pain to fall asleep, something like that. But you'll see that everybody else goes to sleep. Are you guys? Let's see here. I guess some way through the night, you'll see that Samantha comes out from underneath her blanket with Jarvis, and she'll start to move quietly over towards Tavis's spot where he's sleeping, and she's just going to start to get under your blanket and curl up beside you.
With Jarvis?
No, she left Jarvis where she was laying before.
Okay, I thought they'd come over together. Okay.
Towards your section of the floor.
Having trouble sleeping?
Yes. And her hand will start to... So you're laying with your back to the wall, so she's probably facing you.
Yeah.
The hand will just sort of move underneath your blanket and start to rub your shoulder. She's just sort of looking like longingly in your eyes.
You can have the blanket, don't worry. I'll sleep over there.
Don't.
Tavis stands up and walks to a few feet over and curls up, I guess, under the clothes he had removed earlier, using them as blankets.
She sort of watches you move. Do either Sergey or Luther see this happening? Are you awake?
Sergey falls fast asleep.
Okay.
I rolled a 5 on the...
Luther didn't really. I don't think Luther would have made an attempt to sleep.
Okay.
From all that he's seen, he's just kind of just spaced out.
So you'll see the scene happening then.
I will glance over and does Tavis make eye contact with me if I do this?
Maybe for a moment, yeah.
He
widens his eyes and mouths just indistinguishable words in your direction before sort of shuddering them down a little bit more and trying to at least look like he's making an attempt to get to sleep.
When you do that, you'll notice that Luther's eyebrows will rise up a little bit, and he'll kind of nod his head a little bit and give you it's a strange look. It's like a look of, well now, how about that sort of look. Then he'll just kind of turn back and stare into the candle flame.
You'll see that Samantha just follows Tavis's movements, and then she doesn't blink. But eventually she'll take the blanket and move beside Jarvis, and she seems like she settles down for sleep. So the night passes. There's no real other things that happen. You'll see the light of the sun start to filter in through the cracks of the floorboards above. And, Luther, you're still awake, but everybody else is asleep.
Mm-hmm. He'll be wide-eyed and just staring out in the distance. He'll be thinking about all the things he said today, and it's almost like he's reliving it again in his head.
We'll say that so you didn't sleep at all. You get like a -1 to like a tax or something. You're just tired.
Okay.
Tavis still didn't manage to get any sleep either, so
you'll start to see that light coming through the floorboards.
Yeah.
You'll see the light will come down in the darkness, and you'll start to see all the dust in the air, where the light, you just see like a line of dust.
Sergei has passed out, and he's holding the Angie pillow, and he's snoring quite loudly.
So Sergei had a dream.
Oh no.
It was dark at first, but you felt like you were moving, you were walking. But you got the sense that you were moving faster than you should have been. You started to hear the crunching of something beneath your feet. And then the light started to come up, and you looked down, and you were walking on thousands of crunching insects beneath your feet. They were writhing and moving like the surface of an ocean. Crests of waves of cockroaches and ants and spiders were tumbling over, sort of lapping at your heels and the sides of your legs. You looked all around you, and the light started to spread, almost as if where you looked, the light became brighter. Waves in the distance. And then hands started to come out from beneath that layer on the surface of all these insects, and they were pleading and grasping. You saw no faces, and the hands only seemed to be able to come up so far, as if they were constrained or not allowed to break the surface. Is there anything that you do in your dream?
He just continues walking along, crunching bugs.
Your feet start. Oh, good.
Is it like a specific path that he's on? Or?
Well, it would be like walking on the surface of the ocean.
Oh, okay.
It seems like it's pretty much the same in any direction that you head towards. And then it seemed to, perhaps your attention goes to the sky, and the moon starts to make itself known, as if it's slowly turning on in the center of the sky, bathing your skin and you look down, and you've been gutted from the crotch to your neck, and these hands appear right in front of you, and they're reaching into you, and they're pulling out your intestines and hurling them in the air, and then they're slowly falling.
He tries grabbing the hands.
As you grab the hands, they pull back, and all of the skin from their elbow to their fingertips pulls off, and it's just hanging in your fists. It feels cold and dead, and mold and fungus and other things start to quickly grow on the skin that's in your hands.
He just holds on to them and holds them up to the moon.
At this point, you vomit uncontrollably, and this milk comes out of your mouth.
He's, I defy you! And he just shakes the hands as he's vomiting.
And you wake up, and you've vomited in your sleep. You have some of that rot gut, flavored stuff on your lips. But you're awake, and you see the light streaming down from above.
And he just lifts his hands up in the air as if he's still clutching the skin that fell off of those hands, and he just reaches up in the air and says, I defy you!
And this is the point where everybody else wakes up.
Yeah.
Sergei starts yelling. Yeah. You'll see that Samantha is eyeing Tavis once again, but whenever her Jarvis wakes up, she seems to pay more attention to him. The old man starts to move around, and he's like tearing off pieces of this loaf of bread that is slightly stale, but he's handing you each a chunk. It is morning. Would you stay here this day with us, or will you head out?
I must gather thoughts. I have the moon, hands, and vomit. And he just kind of starts muttering things.
So Tavis also didn't sleep, right?
No.
So he'll have a -1. But everyone does heal a little bit once you roll a d6. Just roll a d6. That's how many hit points you get back to back.
All right, I got back a mighty 1.
I got back a 6.
I got back. Well, I rolled a 2, but since I'm healing at half, I got 1 back.
Oh, okay, that's right. Wow, that's pretty harsh. We'll just say that just goes away. That's pretty fun.
Oh, okay.
So, let's just just realize how nasty that was.
That was an epic critical failure.
Yeah, we're just gonna say that critical that failure is done. So.
Okay.
So yeah, there's more streaming lights, coming through the floorboards now. You'll see that Jarvis starts to head up. Samantha, come on, this way. And as they're headed upstairs, you'll see that she turns around and looks at Tavis one more time. And she plucks out like 3 hairs, and then she sort of just lets them go and lets them fall down to the stairs where she's walking. And then she heads out the door.
Okay, great. Tavis gets dressed. Do I have any sense that my hands are feeling all wonderfully magical again, or is that something that might come with sleep?
You think that that they seem like they're you have a certain potence to them or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
You'll see the old man. He's arranging things on the altar, and he starts to just quietly kneel down in front of it. It seems like it must be his wife. She kneels down as well. The old man is... the younger man with the scar is lighting the candles.
Sergei carefully watches the ritual of what they're doing.
Do we know the things that they're worshiping?
The All is sort of the generic monotheistic deity that a lot of the towns in the area worship. There's two sort of vying religions. There's the devout and the righteous that worship them in slightly different ways. Get the feeling that they are worshiping. Let me look at my notes real quick. They are worshiping. What's that? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I can't find it. There it is. They're worshiping it in a way that seems to be the righteous way of doing it. And you know that the army that's descending from the north is supposedly devout. So, just slightly different things. You know that the righteous are more, they burn more incense, they say different things, they worship different saints and things like that.
Now, the knights that were in Pembroktonshire, were they righteous or devout?
They're kind of their own thing.
Okay, that's good to know, actually. That's really reassuring. I'm glad.
Yeah, they
Yes, there's no correlation.
If you think of like the Knights Templar, that would be probably something akin to what they're like.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, they're different, but that sort of thing. They have their own ways of doing things, their own rituals, that sort of stuff.
Luther will join the couple in their prayers.
They'll look over towards you and they nod, but they seem very silent. You might see their lips moving, but no words are coming out.
Mm-hmm. I will utter and mumble at the same time, and I will make sure that my breath is quiet, and I will say prayers towards my fellow company, and especially Rayhan, ensuring that whatever blasphemous evil has overcome him, that he shall overcome it to the power of the light.
Yeah, his eyes are still rolled back into his head. You see the whites. His eyelids aren't closing all the way. It's kind of strange. But, he's still laying wherever you threw him on the floor.
With a start, Sergei sits up and says, "For the love of the divines, for the love of the moon, we've forgotten Ramelzi in the cavern."
I don't think it was so much a matter of forgetting him as not finding him and being forcibly ejected, Sergei. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Oh, mother's milk. I had dream. I had horrible dream. I was walking on ocean of bugs crunching under my feet. And then moon came out high in sky. And it shined its light down onto me. And as it did so, hands reached inside of me and poured my intestines out. Which of course, as any sane person would do, I struggled against. I grabbed them by the hands. And as I grabbed them, they pulled away and left the rotting flesh in my hands, and I vomit out mother's milk.
Sergei, perhaps we should discuss this in another room. It looks like this might not be the place for that. Just glancing over at the people in prayer.
Yeah, the old man looks back disturbed. He's sort of like, his eyes go, oh, what the... and then he turns back to the altar.
Luther will... He'll have his eyebrow arched and kind of lean back as he hears this, and then he'll shrug his shoulders and he'll seem like he'll be praying even harder at this point.
But Tavis noticed that his hands are clenched in fists, as if he's holding on to something. He hasn't opened his hands up.
How about everybody roll me a d20 under wisdom?
D20.
Everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
18, so that didn't happen.
Oh, I got 3 over mine.
Okay.
I rolled a 10, mine is 12, so it's 2 under.
All right. So Sergei, as you're talking about this and you're looking around, you swore that you heard the sound of chains being taken off the front door, and you'll see more dust coming down from the floorboards above that the light is catching. Everybody else seems kind of oblivious to this, though.
When that happens, he springs to his feet and slowly stalks over to the altar. It says, the chains have come off door on the front. There are people walking up above. I hear them.
You'll see the old man stop praying. He'll reach over his hand and grab the hand of his wife, and he'll look at her. Turns back.
Was there candles lit?
There are candles lit, yeah.
Sergei quickly puts them out.
You'll see the smoke slowly winding up towards the roof of the room that you're at.
He fans it away from where, so it doesn't creep up through the floorboards, so anyone who's up above might not actually accidentally smell it. So
I picture you like, just moving both arms and
yeah,
frantically moving. Okay. You'll start to hear now. Everybody can hear it now that there's probably about 6 boots, 6 people's worth of boots walking up above you, like sort of moving around. You'll start to see more that dust coming down from above. They're not saying anything. It seems like they're trying to be quiet.
Okay, is there any light down below?
At this point, no. You just see the light coming from the cracks in the floorboards.
And Samantha and Jarvis went up there.
Yes, they did.
Did anyone else go up there?
No. So at this current time, you have the old man, his wife, the young woman that Luther saw the skeleton vision of, and the younger guy, Luther saw the kids in the stomach vision.
Okay.
But like I said, they're pretty quiet. They really don't do a lot of talking. They weren't praying, however, at the altar with the priest and the woman, his wife. They were just hunched in the corner.
We have been betrayed. We have been betrayed. Shh. Don't talk.
La, 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 la. The body of Rayhan starts to just float off the ground at this point. He still has the helmet on backwards, and the voice that he has is a little bit muffled, but it's loud. And you stop, and you see that the foot sounds from above have stopped as well. But Rayhan's body's just floating, and it's probably about 2 inches off the ground at this point.
Well, Tavis's crossbow is definitely loaded.
Okay. Click, click, click. What does Luther do?
All right, Luther is going to. He's going to. Is there any bits of clothing laying around?
Yeah, sure. We'll say there's various rags and sure.
I will grab the rags and I will get over to where Rayhan's body is and I will stuff them down his mouth. And I will whisper into his ear, "I'm sorry, my friend, but you left me with no choice." And I just stuff him down his mouth, and I try to keep him as muffled as possible.
Okay. And it's the same thing. As soon as you touch him, you get that feeling of weightlessness.
Oh, boy.
Your legs sort of kind of float off the ground, too, a little bit.
Oh.
But, you're shoving rags in that helmet, and it definitely muffles. But it seems like you can hear the sound of weapons being unsheathed. And you'll start to see sword points coming down between the cracks of the floorboards and trying to pry them up.
Oh.
This way, come on! The old man starts pushing the altar, and you're going to see that behind it there's a cloth that's hanging on the wall, and then he sort of tacks it up with a dagger, and there's a tunnel that's dug out. This way! Go! Go! Go!
I will pick up Rayhan as best as I can, and we'll try to head out of there.
Is he still floating? He's still floating.
He is still floating, but oh jeez, how's this gonna work?
Am I gonna drag him like a balloon?
Yeah, that's kind of how it's gonna work. Yeah.
I was thinking I was gonna tie a rope to his ankle because I have some rope. I was gonna tie a rope to an ankle and pull him behind me.
Okay, that seems to work better because there's that weird weightless feeling whenever you do touch him.
Oh yeah, there we go.
So, but yeah, he'll literally just sort of float behind you, but it seems like he's like trying to levitate upwards. So at some point he'll probably bump off the top of the tunnel where you're walking.
Okay, well, I just, if I have to, I push him down or whatnot, but I just keep pulling him behind me.
Okay, and you're sort of crawling on all fours. It's a very narrow, kind of cramped tunnel here. Every once in a while, a clump of dirt will fall down from above and hit you on the back of the head or on the back. But yeah, you guys all go in there. Everybody crawls in behind you, the old man and the woman. And it sounds like there's more, but you can't see at this point. Who was the first one in the tunnel? Because you're going to be the first one crawling.
Well, I went back to tie the ankle, so I don't know if anyone went in before.
Yeah, just does anybody go first? I guess that's what I'm asking.
I guess upon seeing that happen, he'll go ahead and go in first.
Okay. So you're crawling for quite some time. At some point, you'll feel water. Sort of, it's kind of shocking because it's pitch black in here, but it lands on the back of your neck. It runs down the insides of your armor. It's just cold, but there's more tunnel.
Luther will jet back a little bit and clasp his back of his neck and be like, oh, what is that? Okay. Where are we heading to? I'll whisper in front.
Just keep going. It'll come out eventually. It's another old building that we've taken over. So you'll probably crawl for another 10 minutes. And when you start to see light, you also hear voices. It sounds like people are discussing something here. What do you mean they're not here? There should be. Look around, search. You'll start to hear breaking furniture, things being upturned, parchment being torn.
This is in front of us?
Yeah, so you're crawling through the tunnel, and whatever room that this tunnel is going to, it seems like they're searching for you, but you don't see into a room, you just get vague light. It seems like perhaps the edge of the tunnel is obscured in some way, perhaps behind a painting or wall covering. You're not sure.
Well, when Sergei hears that, he reaches back and grabs Rayhan's mouth and just covers it.
He doesn't seem to be screaming at this point. Not yet. So, Luther, you're first. Do you stop? Do you continue on? Do you do something else?
Are they continuing on ahead of me, the couple?
It seems like... Well, they said to go ahead in. That's what I mean. You're first.
Oh, okay. Well, I keep on going then. I will push forward.
Okay. So crawling on hands and knees, the mud or the dirt of the tunnel turns into mud. It seems like there's more moisture here. It seems like there's some water leaking down from above. And you get to the end, and you can see shadows of people moving in this room. It almost seems like it's wallpaper or something that you're looking through. It's hard to discern shapes, just like the vague dark outlines of things is what you can get. But it sounds like they're tearing the room apart looking for something.
I will stop, and I will wait for the others to catch up. But as they do, I will put my finger over my mouth and indicate hushing.
The other problem is they can't see you.
Oh.
It's pitch black. Yeah, I guess there's a little bit of light coming through. Okay, we'll say that the next person in line. So who would that be? Would that be Tavis or Sergei?
Tavis is in the back watching.
Okay, so it'll be Sergei that sees.
As soon as he heard all of that sound, Sergei stopped and grabbed Rayhan, so he's back a little ways.
Okay. Do you guys want to wait, or do you want to do something else?
I will wait.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be Tavis's instinct, too.
So, while that's happening, Sergei listens closely to see if he can recognize any of the voices. If they sound familiar.
None of the voices seem similar.
Okay.
They seem like they're all male. I think there's probably 6 or 8 of them. And probably after about 10 minutes, enough! You just hear something smashing. and then you hear sounds like they leave the room.
I will get as close as I can to the edge, and I'll kind of place my ear out and then try to listen even further if I can hear anything.
Okay, once you roll under wisdom with a d20.
Okay. Yep, I got 10 points under.
You think you hear the sound of a tinderbox trying to light something.
Uh-oh.
Oh boy, I crawl back, and as soon as the first person I meet, and then during this whole crawling process, I'll have my wounded arm pressed up against me, so I'm crawling on all threes, and
yeah, you would actually have to crawl backwards because it's so narrow.
Oh boy, I'll crawl backwards as fast as I can, and when I feel like I bumped into somebody, I'll try to
probably Sergei's. Yeah, he's the next one in line.
When I bump into Sergei,
what's going on?
I think they're lighting the place on fire. I heard a tinderbox in the distance.
We cannot go back.
And we cannot go forward.
We cannot stay here.
Well,
if they light house on fire, this tunnel will fill with smoke, and we're dead as surely as if we set on fire.
I see. Huh. Well, it looks like we have a choice then. Back or forward? If we go forward, we do risk running into the men who are lighting the tinder, but perhaps they won't stay to watch it burn?
Perhaps there's only one of them.
Right. Well, in that case, I will go through, and
carefully, silently.
I will try my best.
Don't let your arm get hurt more.
Oh, don't worry. I don't think that's really a big concern for me right now.
I was trying to be nice.
Oh, no. I appreciate your concern, friend. I do, but at this point, I consider it a bit of a lost cause, but don't worry.
Well, let us go forward. I have Rehan under control for the moment.
I will crawl forward as quickly and silently as I can, and when I reach the wall, I will... Is it like paper?
Yeah, like it seems like it's like wallpaper. That's the only thing that's separating you from the room.
I will kind of poke a finger through it and kind of do a slight tear and so I can look out of it.
You're going to look in a room and you're going to see a pile of rags that are on fire, but you don't see anybody in the room.
All right. Do I see anything that could put the rags out? Or are there any other rags in the room that seem large enough to put over it?
There seems like there's a blanket on a bed. It seems like you're in some sort of bed chamber here. It's sort of old and tattered. It looks like it's, hasn't been used in a long time. But by looking, it seems like these flames are going to catch the bed on fire, probably catch the curtains on fire, catch the wall on fire, if given enough time. But right now it's just a pile of rags that are on fire.
Okay, I'm going to grab the bed sheet and throw it over top of the pile of rags to smother it.
Okay. So you tear out of the giant hole. You kind of come into the room. You start putting out the flames, and then a lot more light comes into the tunnel. And Sergei, you can see what's happening.
I can see what's happening?
Yeah, the light is not as dim as it once was.
Oh, okay, I thought you meant light was coming from behind us. Okay.
No, from ahead.
Okay, then I crawl forward, dragging Rehan along with like a balloon. I just try to come out into the room. Well, trying not to put weight on my injured knee, but I just try to crawl my way out and get out, then pull Rehan out behind me.
It takes some time, but Luther manages to put out the fire. You don't hear anybody and you don't see anybody. It looks like perhaps there was just one person left that lit this on fire, and they were just trying to torch it.
Are there any windows and such that I can look out of, or?
Yeah, we'll say that there's a window. You're going to see, you'll see a street, and you're going to see a bunch of this blue and red uniformed soldiers, all of them having man catchers, walking away from the building.
Oh, I'll take a big sigh of relief and.
Is there anything that you guys want to say before we wrap up today's session in character?
We should not stay here for very long. One, they're expecting this building to burn down. Two, there is other group on other side of the tunnel that could be coming through. We need to find some other place.
Would they come through to a burning building, though?
They might not know it's burning. I don't know. I do not know all things. I am presenting merely possibilities.
All right. I guess with that, we'll end the session. So you guys are in a not burning building on the other side of the tunnel, which is good for you.
Yeah, that helps.
I was curious to see if you guys would go into it or not. It proved out good. So, okay, so we'll just go around the table. What did you guys think of today's session? We'll start with Tim today.
It was nice, very wonderful. There was no maggots involved.
I tried to go easy on the sagging, bleeding tits.
Yes, there is no leaking old woman tits, and there was no maggots, so that sounds like a positive day. Although there was a woman with screwed-on metal legs attached to her.
Yeah, well, I still got to do the disturbing thing because I'm running this game. I actually watched a bunch of Marilyn Manson videos before just to try to get some ideas. That was one of the things that popped in my head. So.
That'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the positive things is I'm no longer. I can heal normally. I'm not grievously wounded, so that I won't heal. So I might be able to recover possibly.
All right. So what did you think, Alex?
It was interesting. It had this sort of melancholy, somber quality about it. Not quite as frantic as the last one, at least after the first hour or so.
Yeah. I tried to get a little bit more of a slow burn today. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
See what you guys would do with that. And Phil, I liked all the stories, man. That was amazing.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I
just kept smiling in silence. I was like, this is great.
Oh, that comes from years of playing a rogue with bluff. That's what that is.
So what did you think, Phil?
Oh, I thought it was awesome. I liked the chance that I got to express my character's delusions a bit of the world around him, and somehow turn that into some form of hope.
His rosy glasses. Look at the world.
Oh yeah.
It's a nice positive spin on all the negativity that I spew. So that's cool.
Yeah, Sergei didn't honestly believe that the invading army was going to be a positive hope. He was just trying to get something from those people.
Well, guys, I'll try to catch up on the recaps of things. This is just really tough this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys are up for playing next week, we'll try to do that.
Yeah, sounds groovy.
Definitely.
That'd be great.
Okay, guys. I will see you next week then.
All right, bye.
Good gaming, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.